is some gore in here because, like I said, there is some, let's just say there's some bloody revenge. And that's all I'm going to say. Hello, and welcome to Tracy Momi Reads. I am back again with another book review. So today, I'm going to be reading, last week I reviewed a book that had been on my TBR of books that are actually in my collection, and I finished another book on the list, and it is called She Started It by Sian Gilbert. She Started It, okay? And surprise, surprise, it is a mystery book. So this particular book, I'm trying to think of maybe what the subgenre can be in this one, because I'm starting to see some of these type of books crop up as well, where it's not a domestic suspense book or thriller. It's more, like when you have a group of friends and something happens, one of those type of books, because that's what this book is basically, because they're like these, well, it's 5 women total. And when I read the blurb, I was intrigued, yet I also knew that, like I talked about last week, it was going to be one of those books where, people don't see red flags. They're right in front of their damn face. But I was intrigued because, okay, let me tell you the premise of the book. So there is this woman by the name of Poppy, okay? And I think this is like a British author, or, like the characters are British or whatever. But there's a character by the name of Poppy. So when she was in middle school and high school, she was bullied by this group of girls, right? And so we fast forward, I guess 10 years later, like maybe after they graduate high school, because I think they're all like 28 or something, 28, 29. So that would be like 10 years after they graduated high school. Poppy's getting married, and she invites her bullies, her tormentors, this group of 4 girls, now women, to what they call a hen party, which is like a bachelorette party or bridal shower type thing. But it's a weekend, all expenses paid, on this beautiful island. And I'm trying to see if it said, it's in the Caribbean. It just says it's in the Caribbean. But airfare is paid for. When they get there, they're going to be staying in this beautiful beach house on the beach. Food and drinks will be provided. They'll all each have their own accommodation. So as we learn from all 4 of these women, they were all very suspicious, extremely suspicious, because they knew how they had treated her. It was never a thing where, oh, she thought we were her friend. Her friends. She thought that we liked her. No. They knew they did that girl wrong. And as the book goes on, you find out all the shit that they actually did, it really makes you wonder what the hell, But the fact that it was first class, the Caribbean, and they all were kind of at a point in their lives where they just needed like a break from, I guess, their current situations and reality, so to speak. So they decide they're gonna go, and I think they were a little curious too as to how she may have turned out. Like, what does she look like now? Because the way they described her, like she was a little overweight, had greasy hair, and things like that. So they decided to go, on the go ahead and go to her hen party on this island. And the tone was already set, because when they get off of the plane and they go, they have to take a boat to get to they're on an island, but then they have to take a boat to get to the other, smaller island where they're going to be staying. And that's the only way off of the island. And the woman who drops them off, she's like, I'll be back in 4 days, because it's this long weekend to pick you guys up, but you should have everything you need out there. There's an emergency phone, but you won't get any Wi-Fi out here. Okay, so that in itself right there, you can't even call nobody. And one of the women, she was like an influencer, like, so she really needs Wi-Fi, for her whole thing, because she was gonna like vlog the whole trip. So that didn't work out for her. But you can kind of tell, like, okay, this isn't gonna be good because y'all can't get off this island until this woman comes back and gets you 4 days from now. Your phones are basically going to be useless. So let me go back, because even when the book first opens, the prologue, like the woman who, it's like the end of the party, right? And the woman who drops them off comes back and she only finds one woman. That's the prologue of the book. So then you dive into it. So, but the only good thing I think they all felt like was that the four of them were on each other's side. Like they had, it would be 4 against 1 if some shit popped off, right? Well, 10 years is a long time, from high school and seeing somebody every day and being in a clique. The women kind of like, kept in touch-ish over the years, but all 4 of them had secrets from each other, and some of their secrets overlapped, and they had betrayed each other and this and that, and the other person didn't know. So as this whole thing starts to unravel, and I mean, Poppy wastes no time. As soon as they get on the island and the first day, like, and they're drinking, she like starts, remember when y'all used to bully me? That kind of thing. It's like, okay, awkward. Because I think they all thought that, oh, it must be water under the bridge. And a couple of them were like still like making fun and laughing, saying she doesn't have any friends if she invited us. I already knew. I'm like, this is all about revenge. I don't know why they would bring their dumb asses to this island. I mean, you haven't seen somebody in 10 years. You used to treat them horribly. Why would they want you to be in their wedding? Y'all weren't that fascinating that, like y'all are celebrities and they want to take advantage of that. So I thought all of their like dynamics were pretty interesting, because that's the thing I do like about books, when you have like friend groups or a group of women. They all have these different dynamics and personalities and how they fit into this, organism of friendship. Like Poppy, she was the bullied bride, right? Then you have Annabelle. She's an very educated poser. She has a rich, handsome husband, but she doesn't work. Okay. And he doesn't seem like he has a lot of time for her. Then Chloe, she's single. She's the famous, like quasi-famous influencer. Then there was a woman named Tanya. She was an event planner, and as the book starts off and they're like on the plane or whatever, just from what everybody else is saying and how she's behaving, you kind of get the vibes that something is going on with her health. And then the last person was Esther. She was an investment banker. She's always super busy and always on her phone and, things like that. So again, that was an issue for her too, not being able to have a phone. But when they get there, they decide, hey, we're going to make the most of this. This is a beautiful island, even though we can't get on our phones and we don't have Wi-Fi, we're not going to worry about that. This is time to really unplug and unwind. Well, even though, my phone may not be able to get Wi-Fi, I do want to take some pictures. Maybe I want to make some notes, or maybe I will walk around the island and maybe I'll find a hotspot. So I'm gonna need my phone. No, Poppy decides she confiscated everybody's phone. She confiscated everybody's phone because she wanted them to be in the moment. She didn't want them, I don't know what she didn't want them doing, playing games on the phone. Like, they didn't have internet. There was no Wi-Fi. There wasn't anything they could really do but take photos, or if they had stuff downloaded on their phone. But they all handed over their phones, which I knew that was going to come back to bite every last one of them in the ass, and it did. Okay, like I said in the last video that I did, you're not getting my passport, you're not getting my ID, and you're not getting my phone. I'm gonna hold on to that because I'm a responsible adult. Thank you though. So anyway, that at the beginning of the trip, she has them put their phones in this box, and, they're like, drinking and hanging out and stuff. And every chance that Poppy gets, like, she's bringing up the shit that they did, and, like I said, they were also curious to how she looked and this and that. And she looks better than all of them now. She's slimmed down. She, has a fashionable haircut. And one of the women, she just swears she's had plastic surgery because she has a bump like on her nose and they didn't even do it right. I mean, so they're still catty, right? And they're talking about her in their little groups when she's not around. And what the author did to let the reader know what Poppy went through, midway she starts these she, instead of going into the past like through a point of view, she does it with diary entries from Poppy's diary, right? And like, she's like, dear diary, and she's like telling what she did. And the first entry when she first got the diary was her first run-in with this group, and how they treated her or whatever. And the thing that was so low down is that Tanya, one of the girls who was in the group, Tanya, her and Poppy were best friends ever since elementary school. But she turned on Poppy when they got to like middle school, high school, and she started hanging out with those other three and doing all this bad shit to Poppy. And then you also start to learn, like, because each character gets their own point of view. The author goes back and forth between each character, and they like with their point of view of what's going on and their observations of what they see and what's happening. And we learned that, like I said earlier, all of them are keeping secrets from each other. And it's like, two of them know the other person's secret. And, it's like nobody has a secret that nobody knows. Like they all have something on each other. And what's interesting is that some kind of way, Poppy, like, she's a doctor, but she is like she's a CIA or something, because she knows all of their dirt. And she starts to slowly, initially you're like, okay, she's trying to get revenge on them, but she turns them against each other is what ends up happening with these little breadcrumbs that she drops. But it slowly starts to sink in to, the other woman, like very slowly, like, okay, something's going on here. She's out for blood. And they wanted to leave, but the emergency phone, suspiciously was broken and they couldn't call because they were going to leave early, and then so she was like, well, no, now you guys just have to stay until, the driver or the boat lady comes back to get you. But, and I feel like it was four of them that at some point, but again, because they were like starting to, pick at each other, they didn't form an alliance quick enough. They should have formed an alliance and turned on her like they did back in high school. And I'm not advocating bullying, but this was some life or death shit, right? And in the end, there was a big twist. I felt it midway. Well, maybe not midway. Maybe after I read 3/4 of the book. I kind of felt that's what was happening. But there was a twist. And there was some bloody revenge. And I'm trying not to say, like, what happened. But it was just too little too late. She had like basically isolated them from each other in the sense that nobody trusted anybody. Like, so everybody was kind of had their own agenda and they were just out for themselves. And, we learned something as a part of the twist. We learned a devastating fact. And that's what really propelled, and started the whole desire for revenge for Poppy. Yeah, it was a ride. I read this book like in less than, I think it was probably, like I started maybe the afternoon one day and finished the evening the next day. So I plowed through it because it was a really good engaging read. At the very end, the last chapter, I feel like the last two chapters actually, like I feel like this could be a setup for a sequel. I looked around on the internet and I did not see where the author said this would be a sequel, or that there's plans to write another one. I mean, you can kind of glean what happens, but it's just like those ominous last words of two of the characters, and especially the main character, where like she's off to do something else. I feel like we didn't get closure with that, so I'm just wondering. But then again, I don't know that a whole book could be made out of like those last two things, unless there's some more cat and mouse between those two characters, which I don't know, would I be as interested. But it was a satisfying enough ending, because like I said, you can kind of guess what happens next. But it would have been nice to really just have everything wrapped up and tied up nicely with a bow, okay? But overall, still a really good read, very fast-paced, very predictable in some parts. Other parts, the author did give you some surprises that you hadn't expected, or maybe you thought you knew, like, for example, when I was talking about how, I think it was Tanya maybe, that was sick, when you realize what was really going on with her, then you're like, oh, do tell, So anyway, if you like books that are suspenseful, twisty, that keep you like guessing, but in a way where you're like trying to predict what can happen next, and then something else, you're thrown a curveball. If you like books that deal with friendship, ties, and books that kind of go back, past and present, then you will really enjoy She Started It by Sian Gilbert. Like I said, I will give you a couple of trigger warnings, because obviously it deals with bullying. Some of the bullying was stupid and unnecessary, and a wee bit excessive, which I feel like all bullying truly is excessive. And like I said, the bloody revenge. So overall, I actually gave She Started It 4 solid stars. Very good. Like I said, it kept me engaged. I plowed right through it and really enjoyed it. And this is actually the type of book I could see being like, I don't know, maybe a series, because we needed to kind of get that backstory on Poppy, and like, I don't know if a movie could do it justice if you gotta cut a bunch of stuff. Maybe a series, and then that way maybe like each episode maybe that would be a good idea. Hello, Mr. or Mrs. Netflix, when you make this book into a series, each episode needs to focus on each one of the characters. You kind of build that up, and then maybe like the final few episodes is when they get to the island. That'll be good. That'll be some good stuff. Anywho, if you have read She Started It, I would love to know what you thought about it. Let me know in the comments. Please make sure that you like this video, and if you have not already subscribed to my channel, go ahead and take the opportunity to do so now. Let's get those numbers moving. Thanks for watching, and you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.